So in this video, we're going to talk about CO2 trends. And so first, the question asks, how would you describe the carbon dioxide levels over the past 800,000 years? Again, I would encourage you to pause the video and look at the graph and see if you can answer that on your own. Then as you look at that, I would say they fluctuate and fluctuate. They would fluctuate, which is like it goes up and down. Or it seems to be like a cycle, maybe it kind of cycles up and then back down. So those would all be phrases that we could use, that we see there is this fluctuation, this natural variation. And I say natural because when we go back, again, if I look at here the x-axis, it says years before present. Humans, we're not going back much more. Maybe we could argue going back 200,000 years, probably not even close to that. But again, we can going back in time, but we're not going to have this back here, or we're not going to have any records of humans back then. But we see without human impact, we still see this variation or fluctuation. So it says, using the previous graph, extract evidence and use it to explain how increased levels of carbon dioxide could be due to a natural fluctuation rather than the combustion of fossil fuels. Okay, so again, I'm going to look back here and again, humans have been on Earth, maybe, again, I said, 100, 200,000, maybe they're going to say about 300,000. So again, we're going to say here, somewhere in here, okay? And so if I go here and I go further back, this is going to be before humans, okay? Before, we're going to say before humans existed on Earth, okay? In the form that we basically see. So if I look at that and I see there's still this variation, this going up and down, essentially that's happening. So I could cite that evidence. So I could say from, 600,000 to 800,000. And again, it goes backwards because it's years before present. Years BP is often what they say, meaning before present. There is a fluctuation and humans weren't on Earth. Okay. Or again, the modern form of humans, or genetically modern humans, were not necessarily on Earth. So again, I can extract evidence from this graph and show that there is this natural fluctuation. So that would be my evidence, okay? And I could then explain this. Therefore, this graph would support the fact that this CO2 variation is a natural phenomena. It has nothing to do with humans. Now, the next part says, using the previous graph, extract evidence and use it to explain how the increased levels of carbon dioxide are probably not due to a natural fluctuation rather than the combustion of fossil fuels. So the same graph I'm looking at, and now I'm using it to support something different. And you might say, how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to look here, and I'm going to look at this little part right up here. So often, people look at the part of the graph that supports their claim. So if I look at this, and I see the highest point, the highest previous carbon concentration was about 300 parts per million. And here, this shows me in 2019, it was over 400. So I could use this piece of the graph and talk about, we have 800,000 years of this natural fluctuation, but now this spike here, I can account for based on the variation that I'm seeing, because historically we haven't had it that high. So I would say, like, looking at the last part of the graph, all right, CO2 goes above 300 parts per million, and this has not been observed historically. All right, or again in the past 800,000 years. So these are the trends. So same graph, and I can use it to support different claims. So realize people will do this all the time, and so this is an important skill to learn.